We're back here for week 6 of the podcast. Almost halfway through the regular season already. Crazy how time is flying. We had an interesting week this week, a pretty low-scoring week comparative to other weeks. Last week especially was very high-scoring, where if you scored 135-ish, it wasn't a great score. This week, 135 was an amazing score. The highest score was me with 148.1. So an interesting week, and it was also the first week of the interdivisional games that last from week 6 through 8, and worked out great for me because I'm the only person in my division who won this week, so great. Couldn't have worked out any better for me. So anyway, we're going to just dive right in. All right, we're going to start it off with the high score of the week, which was 148.1, me, versus Steve's lowly 85. I pretty much took Steve over my knee and spanked him all week. I had Matt Ryan go off for me. Amari Cooper had a really good week. And then Lamar Miller killed it on Sunday night for me. And meanwhile, Steve had Jarvis Landry put up 16 points. And other than that, his team was pretty garbage throughout. Next, we will move on to another pretty low score in Barnsley's 75, losing to Garrett's 117.4. Barnsley, besides Jonathan Stewart, his team really did not show up at all this week, obviously. And Garrett pretty much just rode Matt Stafford and Julio Jones to an easy victory. Next, we have Willie, who after 3 weeks of just unprecedented sucking, has rebounded nicely for two pretty impressive weeks in a row and 2 straight wins. So he wins 136.5 to Joey's 104.6. Drew Brees got him 40 points, and then he had Gronk go off, and he had Zeke Elliott go off. Those guys are pretty much carrying his team right now. And Joey, besides LaShawn McCoy, didn't get much help from anybody. Next, we have the Ghost of Trent Richardson, John's team, wins 137.5 to Jordan's 111.1. John pretty much just rode Christine Michael, ODB, and Brandon Cooks to the win. Those guys alone got him almost 100 points. And Jordan, he didn't have a terrible week, a lot of solid weeks from guys, but just not enough. And finally, we get to what was supposed to be the matchup of the week and wound up being the closest matchup. However, the scores were not as high as I'd hoped for. The most points in the league versus the best record. The best record takes it once again. Sean remains undefeated. 114.6 to 104.6 over Dave. Exactly a 10-point victory for Sean. Sean had Cam Newton get him 31. Other than that, not much to report. David Johnson got Dave 34.8, but other than that, not much to report from him. So, pretty low-scoring affair. Sean winds up taking home another lucky victory. I'm sexy and I know it. So the stud of the week is going to go to John's Odell Beckham Jr. He put up 41.2 points, over 200 yards receiving on 8 catches and 2 touchdowns. So, and was a real difference maker in John getting the win. However, I would like to say that I'm sick of him with the kicking net. Come on. It was kind of funny last week when you went over and hugged it after, you smacked yourself in the face with it, but we're over it now. You don't need to propose to it and lay down with it. It's done. Let the joke die.
You suck!
The Dud of the Week award is going to go to anyone not named Jonathan Stewart on Barnsley's team. As, if you only put up 75 points in a week, it's pretty self-explanatory why he's getting this. I got you. For the second straight week, there's not really much to report on the waiver wire front. So instead of giving this honor to someone who actually helped your team, I'm going to give this honor to a guy who really killed a team. And it's going to go to the number 1 waiver pickup of the week last week, Sammy Coates, who put up a big fat goose egg for Barnsley this week, among many other shitty guys. So it's kind of the shitty waiver wire move of the week. God damn it! Brought to you by the Cleveland Browns. The bad call of the week, brought to you by the Cleveland Browns, is going to go to Dave this week for starting the wrong Charger. He started Melvin Gordon He should have started Phillip Rivers instead of Carson Wentz and LeGarrette Blount instead of Melvin Gordon. Dave's been fudging around with this quarterback position every week, and it finally came back to bite him in the ass this week, with Wentz only giving him 7.4.
This is a story about a girl named Lucky.
Alright, no surprise here. We're getting pretty repetitive. Sean, for the fourth straight week, will get the Willie Hooper Dumb Luck Award. It's getting to the point where we're going to have to strip Willie's name off the moniker and give it to Sean as his namesake. I did a little digging, so let me throw out some stats at you right now. Sean is averaging Sean has a total of 618.6 points against for the season. The next closest team has 706.3. So it's nearly a 100-point gap between Sean and the next closest points against team in the league, which means that teams are averaging 103.1 points per week against Sean. Let's delve a little deeper. Steve in week 2 put up 133.2 against Sean, but that was the week that Sean got over 160. So Sean earned that win, no doubt about it. But in week 1, Sean played me, who scored 111.2 points, my second lowest score of the season, and my first lowest score was only 109, so it's only a 2-point gap between my lowest and second lowest. Week 3, Sean only puts up 106, but he plays Willie, who only puts up 96.1, his third lowest week of the season, and that's 96.1 for a lot of teams is their worst week. That was just in Willie's 3-week stretch of being pitiful. Then week 4, this is where it really gets bad. Sean puts up 90.9. He plays John, who only puts up 83.3, his lowest score of the season. Week 5, Sean puts up 120.6. Pretty good, but bear in mind, week 5 was the week that everyone was scoring high scores. This was last week, and 135 was pretty average. I scored 138, Steve scored 137, both in losing efforts. And he plays Garrett, who only puts up 90.2, so 120.6 in a week where 120.6 isn't very good. He plays Garrett, who only puts up 90.2, which is Garrett's lowest score of the season. And then this week, Dave, who's been putting up points on points on points and has a huge lead in points forced, he only puts up 104.6, his lowest score of the season. So 3 straight weeks, Sean has played teams on their worst possible week, and he hasn't played anyone who's had more than 112 points besides Steve all season.
You know what? This is bullshit. This is bullshit.
The Shitty Luck Award of the week, there was no one who really deserved it, but Jordan put up the highest score of anyone who lost with 111.1, which if you only put up 111, you're not really entitled to a win, but in this week, that's the best I can give you.
Man, I feel like a woman.
This is a tough week for me to give a Jordan Squats Willie Peas award because I had about as good a week as I could possibly ask for. I got the high score of the week, which obviously earned me a victory, and every other team in my division lost. So I can't really complain about anything. I climb the standings while everyone in my division falls. However, I will complain that Steve would not trade me Tom Brady because he's very unreasonable and thinks that quarterbacks who put up 25 points a week are the same as running backs who put up 25 points a week, or receivers or tight ends, which is just ridiculous. I defied him to give me a reason why quarterbacks go so late in drafts if that's the case. Why not just grab the good quarterbacks right away? Why do you wait until the 8th round to get them, and you're taking receivers and running backs who probably won't put near as many points up on the board? And I told him if he could give me one good reason, I would just give him DeMarco Murray. I would just let him have him. Of course, Steve did not come up with any good reasons at all, and he went away whimpering with his tail between his legs. Still didn't give me Tom Brady, though. I'm happy with Matt Ryan, but I just love Tom Brady and wanted him on my team, but Steve was being very unreasonable, so he gets the Jordan Squats Wally Peas Award.
This is so exciting.
There's nothing too exciting happening in Week 7. There aren't too many great matchups, but there is 6-0 Sean facing off against 2-4 Barnsey. Barnsey's been dreadful recently. Sean hasn't been very good, but good enough to beat the dreadful teams he's been playing. So we'll see if Barnsey can bounce back and knock Sean from the ranks of the undefeated, or if Sean will continue to get lucky, or maybe Sean will crush while Barnsey sucks. Who knows? Let's see what happens. All right, so that's it for the podcast for week 6. I just want to remind everyone, week 7 marks the midpoint of our fantasy football regular season, which means I will not be doing a podcast for next week. Instead, I will be doing the usual mid-year rankings and awards and what have you. So, no podcast. It'll be in the message boards, my mid-year review and predictions for what I think will happen for the rest of the season. And also, just about at the midpoint, still not one trade, not even a whiff of a trade yet. So let's fucking get that going. Other than that, yeah, have a good week.